Dobre, takže môžeme začať. Ja už som mal po anglicky úvod, áno.
The introduction already was told in English.
Veľmi mi záleží na vašom duševnom zdraví.
I care too much about your spiritual and psychological well-being.
Preto budem veľmi stručný.
That's why I will be very brief.
Naznačím určité témy, ktorým by som sa chcel venovať.
I will mention a few topics that I would like to maybe in the future discuss more deeply.
A možno potom v diskusii budú ešte nejaké doplňujúce otázky alebo moje komentáre a odpovede.
And maybe we can go then deeper in the discussion. I will comment or you can ask questions.
Cieľom môjho príspevku nie je skúmať transhumanizmus v svojej podstate.
The main core or the main aim of my presentation is not to go deep into transhumanism in its essence. Alebo
jednotlivé smery. Dnes sme počuli veľmi veľa o takých pojmoch ako extropianizmus, abolicionizmus, immortalizmus, postgenderizmus, singularitarianismus.
I don't want to go deeply into specific features or phenomena connected with transhumanism. We have heard many new terms today, like genderism and so on.
Ale chcem poukázať na ideologické pozadie alebo zázemie, ktoré z pohľadu sociológie je deštrukčné pre spoločnosť.
But I want to point out the background of transhumanism, which is from the viewpoint of sociology very destructive.
Lebo v svojich dôsledkoch v podstate to, čo má vylepšovať človeka a spoločnosť, ničí ho.
In its essence, the aim to improve, to perfectify the human being and the society in reality is destructive, detrimental.
Next, please. Tá téma transhumanizmu sociológie je spojená s sociológiou tela. Ako novou subdisciplínou, ktorá v tej postmodernej začína byť veľmi populárna.
So the topic of transhumanism is connected with the topic of the sociology of the body, so to speak, of soma, and it was a very popular topic.
Nechcem charakterizovať diela jednotlivých sociológov, ktorí sa vyjadrujú k tejto téme. Poviem len, že ten kontext alebo ten koncept somatic society, sociológie tela, v ďalšom slajde.
I don't want to go deeply into the authors and their books, but I will go maybe deeper in the concept of the society of the body, somatic society.
Skôr pozerá na človeka ako nejakú nehotovú bytosť.
Looks at the human being as unfinished, so to speak, being.
Čiže je to akýsi sociálny konštrukt, kultúrny konštrukt, ktorý môže sa meniť pod vplyvom akýchsi ideológií, pod vplyvom nejakej axiológie, pod vplyvom nejakých trendov alebo novodobých hodnot.
Human being is a construct of either culture or of society and can be changed under the influence of new ideologies or thematic topics that are in our societies present.
Ďalší slajd. Z toho pohľadu sociologického takou základnou otázkou, ktorú mnohí sociológovia kladú z pohľadu sociológie tela a transhumanizmu, že vlastne k čomu to všetko vedie, hej? O čo v tomto celom, v tej celej diskusii ide. A z pohľadu sociológie transhumanizmus nie je iba filozofický smer alebo ideológia, je to sociálne hnutie, ktoré má veľmi konkrétne ciele.
So the basic question from the sociological point of view is concerning transhumanism. What does it lead to? What's the result of this? And from our viewpoint, it's not just a phenomena, it's a movement, sociological movement.
Nielen sociologické, ale dokonca sa ukazuje ako politické, právno-politické, pretože tým cieľom tohto hnutia je vybudovať, vypestovať dokonalú spoločnosť.
And it's not only sociological movement, it's actually legal and law movement and political movement, because it wants to improve the society. It wants the society to be perfect.
Cieľom tohto hnutia je absolútne transformovať doterajšiu triádu, čiže etos, morálku a zákony.
They want to transform completely and deeply the triad that there have been in existence so far, and its ethos, morality and laws.
Čiže je tam akýsi etos, to znamená je akási vízia sveta, je akýsi zdokonalený genofond ľudstva.
So the ethos means there is a vision of the world, the genophond of humanity that is enhanced, perfect.
Potom je tam idea racionálneho sociálneho inžinierstva.
Then there is an idea of rational social engineering.
A v podstate máme snahu totálne zmeniť dušu, imunitný systém spoločnosti.
And our main effort is to change the soul, the immunity system of the society.
Čiže ten model 3D, ktorý bol doteraz nejaký judeokresťanský model, alebo aj ten racionálny osvietenecký rozum, teda model, chceme vymeniť za niečo úplne nové.
We want to change the existing models of society, whether it's Judeo-Christian or it's rational enlightenment society. We want to change it into a new model.
Aj keď hovoríme o transhumanizme ako o produkte 20. storočia, alebo 21. storočia, jeho genéza začína oveľa skôr.
Even though we speak about transhumanism as a product of 21st century, it actually began earlier.
Keď prejdeme na slide 7, tak tá genéza, kontext transhumanizmu začína v novoveku.
So the image or imaginatory transhumanism begins in the new era, new age.
Vtedy máme dočinenia s prvými pokusmi deifikovať človeka.
And we see the first attempts to deify the human being, to make him a god.
Čiže ten individualizmus, ktorý vyzdvihuje nekonečné možnosti, schopnosti človeka.
So there is this individualism that really supports immense possibilities for human beings.
Vďaka rozvoju prírodných vied a vďaka medicíne a vďaka technológiám vlastne človek ako keby sa uvoľňuje od tohto celého balastu stredoveku a judeokresťanskej viery.
Thanks to the natural sciences and medicine, all the medieval concepts of human body and limitless and limited human being are forgotten.
Keď prejdeme na 10. slajd, budem tak trošku skákať, tak v tomto novovekom svetonázore vidíme totálnu dekonštrukciu judeokresťanského obrazu, ktorého vyjadrujú tieto citáty.
So in this new era we see total destruction of Judeo-Christian image and approach, and these biblical places and these four theses are speaking about it.
Ten celý obraz, či tá vízia, judeokresťanská vízia človeka, osoby ľudskej, začína byť vlastne dezaktualizovaná.
The whole vision of Judeo-Christian world and approach is deactualized.
Nebudem čítať jednotlivé státie, to môžete si pozrieť v Biblii, ale len parafrazujem, že človek prestáva byť považovaný za zázrak stvorenia.
The human being is no longer considered to be the miracle of creation.
Začína byť chápaný z jednej strany ako nejaký nadčlovek, ale z druhej strany za chybný a defektný biologický konštrukt.
And it starts to be understood as superhuman in some way or upper human. On the other side, it's a very defective, very broken being.
A preto je potrebné a možné ho nevyhnutne zlepšiť, vylepšiť, vypestovať na novo.
Therefore, it is necessary to make human anew in a new way.
Mohli by sme, ďalší slajd, prosím, mohli by sme povedať, že to je taký veľmi radikálny, imanentný antropocentrizmus.
It's very radical, immanent anthropocentrism.
Ktorý ale nemá nič spoločné s nejakým spiritualistickým modelom.
But we cannot connect it in any way with a spiritual model.
To môžeme povedať, že podľa môjho názoru, tam začína prvá fáza transhumanizmu.
We can say, and it's my opinion, that this is the first phase of transhumanism. Ktorá
vyústila do nejakých takých veľmi deštrukčných systémov, na ktoré chcem poukázať v ďalšom slajde.
Which ended in very destructive systems that I would like to point out.
Tu som poukázal iba na také 4 systémy, ktoré sú navzájom veľmi silno prepojené.
And I have chosen these 4 systems that are connected very strongly.
Eugenika,
eugenics,
communism, fašizmus a kryptofeminizmus. Myslím si, že nie je potrebné veľmi dlho analyzovať či charakterizovať tieto hnutia. Stačí povedať, že eugenika práve prvá prichádza v 20. storočí s myšlienkou vytvorenia dokonalej spoločnosti a ľudstva skrze uplatnenie princípov sociálneho darwinizmu.
I think we do not have to go deeply into each of them. It is enough to say that eugenics is the first one in the 20th century to come up with improvement of human being on the basis of social Darwinism.
Ten sociálny darwinizmus mal veľmi konkrétne podoby. A to boli...
Social Darwinism was put into practice in a very specific modes of being.
Plynové komory,
the gas chambers,
euthanasia, potraty,
forced interruptions,
hormonálne potratové lieky
and hormonal pills that cause the death of the fetus.
Ich cieľom bolo odstrániť fyzicky, mechanicky odstrániť zo spoločnosti slabšie rasy.
The goal was to eliminate weaker races,
akési medzičlánky a zhubné elementy,
considered to be like the interconnective part or destructive part of enhanced humanity.
A tie zhubné elementy to boli choré, handicapované, staré, postihnuté osoby.
And these so-called destructive elements of society were seen in old, sick, whether bodily or mentally, or weak persons of the society.
Veľmi dobre poznám poľský kontext.
I know the Polish context very well.
A napríklad v roku 1939, keď Nemci napadli Poľsko,
in 1939, when Germany attacked Poland,
Nemci brutálne zatvorili všetky psychiatrické nemocnice.
The Germans shut down completely all the psychiatrist institutions.
A ich obyvateľov nemilosrdne popravili.
And all the inhabitants, the mentally ill persons, were killed.
Nebudem o eugenike viac hovoriť a možno po jednej vete k ďalším. Komunizmus.
I will not go deeper into eugenics,
Tento-
so let's go further. Communism.
Tento systém tiež veľmi dobre poznám, keďže som vyrastal v Sovietskom zväze.
I know this system very well because I grew up in the Soviet Union.
A nedá mi povedať niekoľko slov o tom impérium zla.
Feel forced, therefore, to speak about the force of evil.
Oni totiž chceli urobiť, vytvoriť nový typ človeka.
They wanted to create a new type of human being.
Sovietský človek. Homo sovieticus.
Homo sovieticus, Soviet human.
S tou celou buržoáznou morálkou, bez náboženstva, samozrejme ako opium proste a
with without bourgeois morality,
with
support of new morality, new type.
A tam sa objavili veľmi silno myšlienky genetického vylepšenia. Čiže oni toho Homo sovieticus chceli vlastne vyrobiť geneticky.
And the ideas of genetically modified human being appeared. They wanted to create, so to speak, genetically new human being.
Neviem, či je známe, ale myslím si, že Michal to dnes spomínal. Sovietského biológa, zoológa, profesora Ilja Ivanova, to je veľmi zaujímavá postava.
I have to mention Soviet Professor Ilyanov. He was a scientist, natural scientist and biologist and medical doctor. Ktorý
práve v tomto čase, to ide o bolševické Rusko, čiže 17. rok do 20. ktorého si to tam bol na takom...
During the time of from 1917 and the 20s.
A on ako prvý v bolševickom sovietskom Rusku chcel vytvoriť nový hybridný druh človeka.
He was the first one who intended to create new hybrid being in the Soviet Republic.
Na základe kríženia človeka a opic.
And he wanted to connect human beings and monkeys, apes.
A tieto hybridy mali byť využité.
And these hybrids were supposed to be used
na budovanie socialistického mieru.
To build the social peace and socialist peace in the country.
To sú také veľmi zaujímavé. No, fašizmus, o ktorom už som spomínal, pre Hitlera celý koncept eugeniky bol veľmi dôležitý a on práve tieto princípy implementoval, uplatňoval v praxi.
For Hitler, the principles of eugenics were very, very important, as I have mentioned before. He put them into harsh practice.
Stačí spomenúť jedno meno Mengele.
Joseph Mengele.
Ktorý robil experimenty napríklad na dvojčatách
on
koncentračných
twins, for example, in the concentration camps.
Viete, to nebola len nejaká myšlienka mentálne pomylených jedincov.
It was not just an idea of mentally ill person.
To je hnutie a to je cielený program.
It was a movement and it was focused to do something. It was a focused program to achieve something.
A potom ešte jeden fenomén, a to je ten fenomén kryptofeminizmu.
And the last phenomena of cryptofeminism.
Sice dnes sa hovorí o kryptomenách.
We know about the cryptocurrencies today.
Ale tak ako Bitcoin nemá nič spoločné s menou.
Just as the Bitcoin is not a hard coin,
tak kryptofeminizmus nemá nič spoločné s ochranou ženy.
So cryptofeminism has nothing to do with the rights of women, protection of women.
Takou prekurzorkou tohto hnutia kryptofeminizmu bola Margaret Sanger.
So the founder or the first person was Margaret Sanger.
Ktorá v záujme nejakých kvázi práv ženy
who in the favor of the rights for women
propagovala, legalizovala antikoncepciu, sterilizáciu a potrat.
Legalized interruptions and sterilizations of women.
A v svojich písmach teda som natrafil na také citáty, že ženu je potrebné vyslobodiť z otroctva, manželstva a materstva.
So as I read her works, I read a sentence, for example, a woman should be liberated from the slavery of marriage and maternity.
To je transhumanizmus prvej fázy.
So this is the transhumanism
a
in its first phase.
keď niekto si myslí, že eugenické hnutie neskončilo,
and if you think that the eugenics movement has not ended,
tak je veľmi naivný, minimálne naivný.
Has ended, you are very naive.
Pretože transhumanizmus druhej fázy je ešte horší.
Because the second phase of transhumanism is even worse.
Keď pozrieme sa na 13. slajd, ďalší,
so when we look at this slide,
tak tento transhumanizmus druhej fázy je spojený nielen s tou celou schizofrenickou postmodernou kultúrou, s revolúciou hodnot a dekristianizáciou.
The transhumanism of the second phase is not only connected with the destructive postmodern culture, the revolution of values and de-Christianization,
ale cieľom transhumanizmu druhej fázy je vytvoriť technologickú postspoločnosť.
But the focus of the transhumanism of the second phase is to create a technological post-society.
Čo je takým znakom tej technologickej postspoločnosti?
What is the sign of technological post-society?
Jej znakom je to, o čom hovoril profesor Valčo dnes, keď použil pojem, neviem, či dobre teraz spomeniem, morfologická sloboda.
So the sign is what Professor Valčo was speaking about, morphological freedom.
Morfologická sloboda je len slobodou z názvu.
Morphological freedom is the freedom only on the basis of the title.
Ale v konečnom dôsledku vedie k zotročeniu človeka.
But in reality it's a slavery.
Pretože stavia človeka do pozície Boha.
Because it pushes a human being to the role of God.
Ktorý sám rozhoduje o svojom tele, o svojej podobe.
And this human being in the position of God decides about himself, herself, about their body, about their status.
Pomocou práve týchto nových technológií.
With the help of new technologies.
Genetického inžinierstva, medicíny.
Genetical engineering, medicine, and so on.
Čo je ale charakteristické pre tú morfologickú slobodu, to je to, že zákon nám má zaručiť slobodu narábania so sebou sám.
So the basic feature of morphological freedom is that the law should enable us to do as we wish and will with our own bodies.
Čiže ja môžem si vybrať technológiu, s ktorou sa chcem trvalo spojiť.
I can choose technology with which I want to be permanently connected.
A bude mi zaručené absolútne právo.
And I will have the absolute right. It will be granted
nakladať
to me
s vlastným telom ako chcem.
To do with my body as I wish.
My body, moje rozhodnutie.
My body, my decision.
Tak. A čo s náboženstvom? Tam je veľmi silná dekristianizácia.
So the role of religion, you can see the very strong movement towards de-Christianization.
Kresťan.
So the Christian
čaká ako odsúdený
the Christian is basically
na rozsudok smrti.
A person waiting for the death sentence on a death row.
Prečo? Pretože v tej postspoločnosti, technologickej postspoločnosti,
because in the technical post society,
ten nový dokonalý človek
the new improved being
musí byť úplne nenáboženský, racionálny.
Has to be totally rational, very non-religious even.
A absolútne nezávislý.
And absolutely free, very independent.
Preto cieľom tejto technologickej postspoločnosti alebo transhumanizmu tej druhej fázy je eliminovať náboženstvo.
Therefore the main goal of the technological post society is to eliminate religion as such completely.
V tomto kontexte neverím ani zastancom kresťanského transhumanizmu.
So in this sense I do not believe even the followers of Christian transhumanism.
Cieľom tejto fázy je dosiahnuť totálnu nezávislosť.
The goal of this phase is total independence from God.
Dobre. Veľmi dlho hovorím, takže preskočím všetky slajdy až na slajd 19. Poprosím slajd 19.
So we go towards the end and I need to order
Tam sú pekné
gold
obrázky.
for the boys.
A 19, či ešte? Ešte ďalej. Ale v konečnom dôsledku vlastne vynára sa nám nejaký obraz totálnej, absolútnej prázdnoty.
So you can see some pictures, but you can see a picture of total emptiness. Musíš to objednať. Bold.
Prázdnoty, ktorú je potrebné zaplniť nejakým konzumom, zábavou, reklamou a aktivitami typu Carpe Diem.
And this total emptiness has to be filled with fun and freedom and the lifestyle of Carpe Diem.
Ako zakončiť túto prezentáciu?
How should I end this presentation?
História nás naučila, že bez viery v pevné morálne princípy a transcendentné pravdy,
that without the faith firmly rooted in transcendental truth and principles,
naše politické inštitúcie,
our political institutions,
náš jazyk
our language
sa stávajú nástrojom v službe nového barbarstva.
are only an instrument of new barbaric movement.
A prečo barbarstva? Pretože v mene tolerancie
because in the name of tolerance
začíname tolerovať najhrubšiu netoleranciu.
We are tolerating the most deep and rude intolerance.
A taký možno jeden citát, 24. slajd. Ešte.
So this is a quotation.
Ktorý nám hovorí o tom, že nie je pravda, že človek nemôže usporiadať svet bez Boha. Pravdou však je, že bez Boha je možné vytvoriť len taký svet, ktorý bude proti človeku.
It is not true that a human being cannot adjust the world without God. But the truth is that without God it is possible only to create such world that is against human being.
Reklamná prestávka.
So now we have a short goodbye party. A ono to bude zapojené, len vieš čo, na tým musíš si zapojiť, keď ideš s nimi vonku. Hej, a len to, sem tam to tak akože po toto, oka.
Toto už mali sme, hej?
Toto už sme mali, áno. Please remember one more time, I mean the truth is that without God we can create only such world that will be against human being.
V tomto kontexte je humanizmus a môžeme povedať transhumanizmus.
So in this context we can say that all the humanism or transhumanism
končí vo Osvienčime.
Ends in Auschwitz.
Transhumanizmus prvej fázy. A ten druhý?
This is the transhumanism of the first phase. And the second one?
To je klonovanie.
It's cloning.
Potraty.
Abortions.
In vitro, in vivo.
Fertilizáciu in vitro.
A všetky tieto metódy,
all the eugenic methods that we have spoken about.
Čiže a už koniec, a už posledný slajd.
Last slide.
Čiže my musíme sa vrátiť k sebe, k človeku, k človečenstvu.
Now we should go back to our humanity.
K tomu, čo ho definuje. K tomu, čo ho definuje. A to, o čom sme dnes rozprávali, že
but not only to humanness as such, but to what defines our humanity.
integrálnej vízii človeka. 3D, telo, duša, duch.
To the integral vision, 3D vision of human being, the body, soul and the spirit.
A našou konečnou potrebou je vykúpenie a nie vynovenie.
So our ultimate need is redemption, not renovation.
Aj dovolte ešte jeden element. Vojna na Ukrajine a ten celý kontext rizikovej spoločnosti, našej rizikovej
So the last
spoločnosti.
element I will mention is the war conflict in Ukraine and the critical moment in our society.
Súčasný človek potrebuje metanoju, obratenie, oživenie duševných schopností.
The current human being living in current conditions need, so to speak, metanoia, the complete change of person, not only the change of thinking.
Vidíme, že potrebuje viac lásky, solidarity, uznania, zmyslu, identity.
We see that current human beings need more love, more understanding, more self-identification in an authentic way.
A tie sa nedajú technologicky implantovať.
And this cannot be implemented in human thinking technologically.
Ďakujem.
Thank you.
Okay, we thank our presenter. Thank you, Kamil, dear professor. Of course, you should understand that we can avoid all these calamities easily by letting our minds be uploaded into a metaverse, you know, that will be governed by
môžeme obísť, keď naša myseľ bude uploadovaná do metaverse.
That will be governed by this new super intelligent AI, the new God.
Ovládaná novou AI.
You know.
To je utopia.
It's a utopian thinking.
So I'm speaking ironically, you may have noticed, but this is one of the, but you did not mention this aspect. So because some of the transhumanists, they see these dangers. They're not all equally narrow-minded people, you know. Some of them, I don't know. I'm not sure if we can simplify this diverse transhumanist movement into painting them as if it was basically a movement with the kind of goals that you described. Because I think some of the transhumanists, definitely they are the radicals, and they definitely have the kind of goals in mind that you described. And I totally agree that this is really a dystopia. Yeah, it's terrible, and it's a very scary future. But I wonder, this is my question for you, I wonder if you are doing justice to the diversity of the movement, if we should truly be so suspicious, and if it's not better to differentiate between the currents within transhumanism, and maybe even align ourselves with some that are constructive and willing to discuss values and human dignity and so on, against those who are radicals, instead of putting them all into one basket and fight them all. It's a question.
Možno to vyzeralo veľmi tak apokalypticky, alebo taká veľmi fatalistická, apokalyptická vízia.
Maybe it looks like a very apocalyptic, fatalistic vision.
A tá hranica skutočne je veľmi tenká.
And the bordering line is very, very thin.
Podľa mňa problém nie je technológia.
I think the problem is not the technology.
Áno, problém nie je medicína, problém nie je biotechnológia, biofyzika, biochémia, nie sú prírodné vedy ani medicína.
Biochemical and natural sciences are not the problem.
Problémom neboli zbranie.
The guns are not the problem.
Problém je, ako človek s nimi narába, ako využíva a zneužíva.
The problem lies in the reality, how do we use or abuse these.
To, o čom sme dnes rozprávali, že ty môžeš pomocou nanotechnológií pomôcť človekovi, ktorý je
We have talked today about the fact that you can help the human beings with nanotechnologies through the surgeries or implants or something.
Ale to, o čom ja som hovoril,
but the main focus of my speech,
to je konkrétne hnutie,
was to
hnutie,
point out that this is a specific movement
ktoré ide oveľa ďalej ako len pomoc a podpora
that
ľudí.
goes far behind just helping someone.
Neviem, určite to vieš, hnutie Quantified Self, ktoré vzniklo v
There is a
2008
movement,
roku.
quantify
Yeah.
yourself, yeah.
They measure
A
everything.
ďalšie hnutia. Tam ten nielen ideologický, ale tam je ten cieľ a program jasný.
It's not only ideological,
A
it's
tuto
the
my nemôžeme
clear
prijať,
program and we cannot
akceptovať.
accept this.
Nemôžeme. Pretože propagujú akúsi víziu nielen predĺženia života, ale zabezpečenia nesmrteľnosti.
Because the propagation goes not only towards prolonging life, but granting immortality, so to speak.
Ako to dopadne?
So how it will end?
Môžeme povedať, že sú tisíce prípadov, ktoré sa dali zmraziť už v
There are
Amerike.
thousands of people who froze themselves, the cryo type of technology,
A ako dopadnú?
and we know how they ended.
They're frozen.
Áno, krajina ľadu.
Okay, I think
The land
Professor
of-
Bojan had a question.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture. Well, you know, I find it a little bit problematic, your lecture, in the sense of dialogue in our value heterogeneous society. For instance, in Europe, practically we are secularized. You know? The religious people in this institutional sense, and we are the minority. And if we listen to your lecture, you know, you said it's the only solution is to return to God and to listen to the God, and so on and so on. And it seems like only a religious person can be moral and authentic and such things. And I think this is not a useful and applicable and beneficial attitude in our society. It brings nothing good, you know, because what you said, you said about first and second phase of it was, we know from history, in our Catholic society, in the 20s and the 30s, when the secular waves came, and for instance, our Catholic world in Austria, area in Slovenia, the reaction was totally like yours. That this is end of the world, everything will collapse, and the only solution is total renewal, spiritual, that means religious renewal of the society. And it brought nothing good. It just strengthened the polarization in the society, and we get either or, you know, either barbarism or religious society. But it was exactly the twin of the Marx, because Marx said the future of society will be either communism, either barbarism, and barbarism was extreme capitalism. So I think it's not applicable, such attitude. It's not useful, and I think that also atheist persons and non-religious persons can be moral, can be authentic, and we must somehow articulate philosophy and theology that corresponds to these facts. You know, it is, for instance, personalism of Second Vatican Council and Catholic is in this vein, and Rahner spoke about, you know, hidden Christians, is the one. And I think this is attitude. Charles Taylor, who is a Catholic, spoke in this manner, And I think this is what he meant. So we are brothers under the skin, for instance, atheists in the Western world. And I think this is my worry.
Úplne súhlasím s pánom profesorom. Možno to nevyznelo v mojej prednáške, ale
maybe it was not very clearly stated in my lecture,
boli tam obsiahnuté dva pohľady.
but there were two viewpoints,
Čiže dve cesty, východiska.
two roads.
Jedna je z pohľadu kresťana, z pohľadu náboženského človeka, z pohľadu nás, ako my sa máme správať v tejto situácii a čo máme robiť.
One point of view is strictly Christian. What should we as Christians do? How should we think? What rules can we adhere to?
A napríklad sociologické výskumy na Slovensku dlhodobo preukázali, že čím vyššia je miera alebo úroveň religiozity, tým kompatibilnejšie a lepšie vyzerajú iné sféry života spoločnosti.
So Kamil is a sociologist, so he mentions the sociological surveys that have been conducted in Slovakia for a long time now, and they actually have proven that the higher the religiosity of the inhabitants, the more quality or the more qualitatively better the other areas of life are within the society.
Keď sme porovnávali napríklad hodnoty religiozity a manželstva, rodiny, hej, postoje nejaké mládeže, proste ich hodnotové orientácie, kvalita života a ďalšie.
So when we compared, for example, the era of marriage and
social capital
or cohabitation of husband and wife, and we asked various questions concerning
Ale
this
ten
matter.
pohľad môj nebol čisto sociologický. Z pohľadu religiozity, religiózneho človeka, kresťanského, nie je iné východisko.
We came up with interesting conclusions, but my viewpoint here was not strictly from the Christian perspective.
Ale to minimum, ktoré my nevyhnutne potrebujeme v spoločnosti, je vrátiť sa k ľudstvu, k človečenstvu.
The minimum that we can do and need in our society is going back to humanness, so to speak. Not just pure humanity, because this term is not really precise, but some kind of humanness in us as human beings.
Neviem, či dobre som zareagoval.
Well, I think expressing it not clearly, but don't get me wrong, it's a beneficial academic debate. A little bit dangerous sounds what you were saying. These positional formulations are a little bit dangerous for my view.
So are you referring now to the explanation or to the original lecture?
No, I agree that religion is very important for the relationships, and a relationship is everything, and these sociological data about the quality of life are not surprising. This is one thing, you know. But this part of Kamil's lecture, which was saying that only returning to God and to some kind of religiosity, and it a little bit, this formulation is a little bit too exclusive. They exclude non-believers.
I understand.
They exclude non-believers. It's too exclusivistic. Let's have some empathy and imagine that we are atheists. And I know many very honest, brave atheist persons. And if I hear this, how would I feel? Not good. So it's too, in a sentence, it sounds to me too exclusive. These formulations. I cannot say just one, but we must be, as I said, for instance, the ideal of authenticity. It's applicable to our society as far as we can say that both atheists and theists and various people belonging to different world views can be lead the authentic life. Even the contradictory ways of life, like total atheism, this is one thing. This is similar like particularity of rationality. The thesis that rationality is only one is exclusive and is dangerous for dialogue, because practically, I can be in dialogue with someone who I respect. Otherwise, it's paternalism. And practically, within the mature people, I can respect you or you only if I recognize your rationality. But for Ahmed, could be a totally rational decision to be a Muslim, the only rational. For Ahmed, with his whole environment, whole history, it's not rational to be Catholic. It's totally irrational. The only authentic choice and to be Muslim. For another person, for John, for instance, or could be regarding all the environment, all the things, could be only rational to be atheist. Honest and authentic position. And for me, for instance, it's rational, I think, that I'm a Catholic. And this is particularity of rationality, because there are different rationalities between Hindu and Catholic and so on. You go to Sweden and then go to Mozambique, and you will see what is there. But they are all rational. It's important is that you are authentic. That you can be authentic in atheistic way, or atheistic way, and the authenticity is a matter of rationality for me.
And by rationality means an overall concept of how I rationalize my existence, how I connect the dot in reality and understand myself in the world.
It's an important distinction. I use it also in my English sentence. I have an English article I can send you. Mm-hmm. It's in English. We must distinguish with two kinds of rationality. Trivial rationality and substantial rationality, or existential rationality. Trivial rationality is, for instance, in science. You can be an atheist, or a Muslim, or a Catholic, or Hinduist, but the mathematics is one. Physics is one. It's one rationality of mathematics. And this is a trivial rationality. But there is another rationality which is substantial or existential. This is relevant for, is it rational for Ahmed to be a Catholic or a Muslim?
Yeah, based on his experience, based on his education.
He cannot decide on the basis of physics, of mathematics, of natural science. And this is crucial. And what they are making scientism, they are reducing substantial rationality to trivial. Maybe translate it, sorry.
OK, no. Ja si myslím, že my sme sa nepochopili s profesorom.
I think we just misunderstood each other.
Pretože všetko to, o čom hovorí profesor, je obsiahnuté v tom východisku, ktoré som načrtol, že antropologické konštanty.
Because all that you are talking about is in my anthropological
Tie vytvárajú akýsi
basis for
minimálny
the
konsenzus preto, aby sme mohli viesť dialog.
It's like a minimal ground of consensus for the dialogue.
A či je niekto ateista, či niekto hinduista, alebo rastafarian, alebo vesmírny človek, tieto platia aj pre ňoho.
So whether you are from the from the normal church or abnormal church or movement, like I don't know, universal people or Rastafarian or whatever, this minimal consensus based on humanness of human being are valid for all of them.
Predsa musí existovať nejaké minimum, základný hodnotový konsenzus.
It's like the
Pretože ináč by sme sa rozbili.
minimal consensus of values that binds all of us together, otherwise we would be destroyed into little pieces.
Ale áno, ja vidím problém aj v kontexte tých výskumov, o ktorých som hovoril, že neautenticita. Hej?
And I also see the problem in the outcomes of the research that has been done because it is not authentic.
What is not authentic?
The outcomes of the research.
Or maybe the
Že sme neautentickí.
shows that humans are
Not authentic.
not authentic.
Áno.
The research shows that
Áno,
without
yeah.
That the human beings are not authentic.
They're lacking authenticity.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Lacking authenticity. Let me throw an idea into our conversation here that may or may not help us move forward. I see two dangers here, and they're both like the opposite extremes, which we I think try to avoid. And Professor Bojan is reminding us quite legitimately that there is a danger of a sort of a Christian paternalism or Christian arrogance, exclusivism. There is always this danger, to go into the world and basically sort of preach this message that without the Christian God you cannot have an authentic existence. And you just need to listen to me, and if you want to have your lives filled with meaning and authenticity, you have to meet Jesus Christ in faith, and that's how it happens, right? So this kind of going about, and preaching to atheists and other
This
cultures.
discourse is problematic.
Yeah, this kind of discourse is problematic, and maybe this is what some missionaries have done and are still doing, and this is not. But I don't think that this is necessarily what Kamil meant. But I understand that this is a danger, a true danger, and we want to avoid this. On the other end of the spectrum is another danger, and that is to, in the name of having meaningful conversations with friends from other faiths and cultural background, we settle for such a minimum common denominator, and basically then in reverse we sort of translate our own cultural and faith heritage to because we fear that we would be too exclusivist if Christians said, well, we live in a monotheistic world. We think so, we believe so. But we don't want to offend the pantheists or polytheists or whoever, secularists. So we give up on some of these ideas, and we come into the dialogue and we just talk about basic human decency and dignity. And so we settle for such a low minimized common denominator that we fail to mention that what moves us as Christians is this wonderful narrative of a monotheistic drama which makes sense to us, resonates with us, and we want to not preach it to you, but we want to tell us our story and listen intently to your stories, and let's resonate with each other, let's notice the overlaps but also the differences. But we don't want to lose the robustness of what Christians believe, but we don't want to come across as arrogant as preachers who say, without this there is no authenticity. But at the same time, we don't want to lose the message. We don't want to come to philosophers and retell our Christian identity or the heritage, the intellectual heritage in such a way that you minimize it, you empty it, you make it so philosophical and so general that it's no longer a Christian heritage, So that's the other danger, and I think we move between these two dangers. So what I propose that when we come into debates about transhumanism and about the issues that Kamil mentioned, I propose that we first talk about what kind of conversation are we having. Is it a missionary type of conversation that I know what is the truth and I'm telling you, I'm preaching you? Or are we having the kind of conversation where we come to the table and each tells their story, their narrative, how he understands the world and what makes sense to him and why it makes sense to me. But I don't try to deny anything. I don't try to, I will not say that my life can be meaningful without Christ because that would not be true for me as a Christian. But at the same time, I want to listen to the Hindu and to the Muslim what makes his life meaningful, and I want to take it very seriously. Yeah?
Yeah, there is a very important distinction between, for instance, between theological exclusivism and political exclusivism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Theological exclusivism is the opinion that my religion or my faith is superior compared to other.
Yeah.
And this is in a sense honest position.
Yeah.
I think that Jesus Christ is a combination and
it's
everything.
somewhat intrinsic to
Yeah.
Christianity.
But this theological exclusivism does not imply that political exclusivism. So I can say you will go to hell, but I will fight till the last drop of my blood for your equality on the political space with me.
Yeah.
And now we can also maybe introduce another level of ethical, exclusivism and inclusivism. Good Samaritan. He is not ethical outside.
If I may, this is very fruitful discussion. In interreligious dialogue, me as a Christian, you as a Muslim, or him as a Hindu or Buddhist, the main point is the problem of truth. Because beyond exclusivism or openness, I think there is a problem of truth. My truth meeting your truth. And we must find a way, somehow. I will keep my identity, I will keep my faith, I will keep my dimensions of truth, of Christian truth. Also, in a way, I am forced to respect yours, your truth, your opinion, your faith, and so on. It is not easy at all. I have some experience with Muslims, with Buddhists, with Hindu also. It is not easy. And I think we must find some common points, not theological, not discussions about the problem of truth, who is superior, who is inferior. I think we must find some common point, human point. For example, let's have an interreligious dialogue in a social aim. We have a problem with the poor population in one African country. Let's have something, let's collaborate, let's have something in common, let's act in common.
Bottom-up approach.
Yes, to resolve that problem. I think if the dialogue between religions, between believers from different religious cultures, it ends at this moment when we discuss about the Christian truth, the Muslim truth, and so on. It is impossible, and I appreciate very much Leonard Sweetler, I think so, yeah. Yeah, he pointed a 10 command for interreligious dialogue. Yeah, it's more like an experience, human experience, not just a theological debate.
No.
Yeah.
For instance, the David Hollenbach, the Jesuit,
Yeah.
from USA, one of the authorities of Catholic social theology, is now at the age of 80-something and 77. He speaks about intellectual solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
I would call it rather experiential solidarity.
Yeah.
That means that I participate on your experience like entity on your mind.
Yes.
So that and my formulation is that we can define true dialogue, which surpasses normally pure verbal communication. It's totally bodily, like happening of intellectual solidarity. When we are in full dialogue, we are in the intellectual solidarity. I participate in your experience, and you experience in mine.
Without changing my identity or
No,
your
yeah,
identity.
don't, you know, I will admit, I'm theological exclusivist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the highest and fullest truth was revealed by Jesus Christ to humanity. I am. But this doesn't, but Good Samaritan is not ethical outside.
Yeah.
Not to say political outside.
Yeah.
He's not ethical, he was more ethical than Orthodox Jews. So,
And, you know, and there is
and
another
this is our Christian tradition.
Yeah.
This is a Christian argumentation. That I stress. It's
Yeah.
not from the outside. I offer you a Christian on your own field, and I said, you're a Good Samaritan.
And I think a fruitful interreligious dialogue is happen when people like us have the openness to the other, because between, for example, my Romanian Orthodox Church and Sunni from
Maybe Kamil
be
has
possible,
something to
yes.
say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Neviem, k čomu teraz mám reagovať. Či na teba. Ja si myslím, že súhlasím aj s tebou. Ten môj, to, čo som chcel povedať, nebolo vyjadrením nejakého kresťanského exkluzivizmu alebo nejakého fundamentalizmu kresťanského. Ale história a sociológovia, Fukuyama, Illich, ostatní, na ktorých som sa odvolával.
First of all, it's necessary to say that I agree with all of you, and I was not speaking from the position of Christian exclusivism, but based on sociological research that was mentioned, but we didn't see the whole presentation because it had 26 slides.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a portion of what was included.
To, čo je spoločné a to má interdisciplinárny kontext, je nejaká myšlienka, že ten vývoj ľudstva už nemôže ísť tak, ako doteraz. Že musí sa to niekde zastaviť.
So my main point is that the evolution of humanity cannot go like it went till now. It has to be stopped somewhere.
A samozrejme a to možno bol taký môj postoj kresťana, ktorý sa snaží žiť autenticky svoju vieru.
And of course a portion of me is a deep Christian faith, a Christian who tries to live his authentic faith in
Že
his
tamto
world.
riešenie je jednoznačné.
That there is a solution in Christianity.
Ale to neznamená, že ten môj
Kresťanský postoj.
že ten môj kresťanský postoj musí prijať
You
Joán,
have to be baptized.
Michal, Hoa.
You have to
To
be
neznamená, že musí prijať ani Benjamin, môj syn.
But it doesn't
Tu nejde
mean
o to,
that
že by som ja vystupoval teraz, že počúvaj, alebo sa vrátiš na lono jedinej pravej katolíckej viery, alebo zhoríš v pekle.
So my viewpoint was not offered in such a manner that I send all of you to hell because you are different than me and only my Christian faith is the true one and only my church, Greek Catholic, is the true one. Because I can talk to you in this manner, but you may not accept my viewpoint. That's right.
Ale je to výzva skôr k tomu, aby možno sme sa spamätali a začali fungovať normálne, respektíve ináč. Či aby sme začali žiť autenticky.
But I mean it more like a warning to start thinking about real authentic being. Go back to the roots, as he mentioned, humanness.
Aby sme sa vrátili k hodnotám ľudstva.
Let's go back to
Ktoré sú
values of
univerzálne.
humanity, universal values of humanity.
Aby sme sa vrátili k racionalizmu.
Let's go back to ratio, rational thinking, reasoning.
K normálnej pedagógii, to, o čom hovoril Pálo Dancak dnes.
And let's go back to rational, normal pedagogy, educational system, just as Pavel was speaking today.
Okay, we will continue in this fascinating discussion during dinner and after dinner, but we should have two more presentations.
We have the last presenter here.
We have the last presenter.
Ďakujem ti za tú
Okay, so thank you very much.